Everyone is entitled to their own opinions. That's like the golden rule of the internet. If you can't follow that rule, Kiwi Farms is to your right. Depending on the media, opinions can vary from person to person. General consensus helps get an idea of how a show or movie is viewed by its audience. We, as the viewing public, have ways of showing if we like or dislike something. This is why we have scoring systems on sites like Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes. Being in the majority makes you feel like you made the right choice. You're a part of a large group that either likes or dislikes something. There are people surrounding you that share your opinions. But what happens when you're in the minority? This is the story of me. In the mid-2000s, I was made aware of a cartoon coming to Kids WB. Even though my parents had cable and could easily watch Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon on Saturday mornings, Kids WB was my Saturday morning block of choice. Then, one Saturday after an airing of Yu-Gi-Oh!, I saw this commercial.
In the year 2772, the world is in constant danger. But standing between the Earth and its destruction are 6 superheroes, gifted with speed and strength.
What's up, Doc?
The future is wild. Loonatics Unleashed will premiere Saturday, September 17th, only on Kids WB.
A new action cartoon starring the Looney Tunes? I was fascinated. I was intrigued. I was enthusiastic. But little did I know, I would likely be the only one feeling any of those emotions, as I was completely unaware that the cartoon I just saw advertised would be one of the most controversial and polarizing cartoons of the 2000s. Let's open the books and examine the curious case of Loonatics Unleashed. In order to get an idea of how this show came to be, we need to look at the landscape of the Looney Tunes brand circa the mid-2000s. It was a bit of a mixed bag. Riding high off the success of the surprise hit Space Jam, that one film that reminded everyone of Michael Jordan's short-lived baseball career, Looney Tunes was in the middle of a renaissance. Cartoon Network was rerunning the classic shorts, new television series were popping up, and merchandise was everywhere. Then Back in Action happened. Because of the negative reception, internal strife, invisible advertising, and just the absolute worst release date Warner could have picked, Back in Action bombed hard, causing the franchise to fall from the pedestal that Space Jam helped put it on. Cartoon Network had all but removed the classic shorts from their schedule and put the 2 current Looney Tunes TV productions, Baby Looney Tunes and Duck Dodgers, on hiatus. Even though the franchise was mostly gone from the channel, it didn't mean it was completely dead. Warner had another place where Looney Tunes could call home: Kids WB.
The following may cause uncontrollable reflex movements of legs and feet. Kids WB does not assume responsibility for overturned beds or footprints on ceilings.
I don't know, but I heard tell the WB's a place. With them great new shows, anything goes, even worms in outer space. That Tweety Bird, Hot Rod Dog, the boy named Damien, the singing frog. We got WB's got people all having fun.
Launched on September 9th, 1995, Kids WB was aimed to be a direct competitor to the likes of Fox Kids, to the point where they lured away Animaniacs to air on Kids WB. Classic Looney Tunes shorts would be aired on the block through various package shows such as That's Warner Brothers, Bugs and Daffy, and The Daffy Show. In addition, Kids WB played host to Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries, a show hardly anyone remembers, yet lasted 5 seasons. As the turn of the millennium approached, a new genre was gaining traction on the block: action cartoons, specifically ones based on characters from DC Comics. The new Batman Adventures, Superman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, Static Shock, The Zeta Project, and Teen Titans all proved to be juggernauts for Kids WB. More comedic action shows like Mucha Lucha, The Jackie Chan Adventures, Ozzy and Drix, and licensed anime like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Made Looney Tunes stick out like a sore thumb. If Warner Brothers wanted Looney Tunes to have any staying power on the block, it needed to adapt. It needed to get with the times. It needed to unleash its inner lunacy. Heading up the production on this new project would be one Ron Myrick. Myrick had been in the animation industry since at least the late 1970s, starting out working on projects for Filmation like Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, Space Sentinels, and the new Archie Sabrina Hour. In the 80s, Myrick jumped ship to Hanna-Barbera and worked on the likes of Pac-Man, The Smurfs, and The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. In the 90s, his role expanded as he directed multiple episodes of The Addams Family, Street Sharks, and Garfield and Friends. At the time, he was probably most well known for Season 2 of Sonic Sat AM. You know, the one before it got cancelled. One night, Sanders Schwartz, the president of Warner Brothers Animation, invited me to a Lakers game. While we were kicking it in the skybox, he tells me, "I'm going to give you the show that will make or break your career." That show was Loonatics. The following day, Myrick arrived at the offices for Kids WB and was introduced to two people. Brothers named Christian and Yvonne Tremblay. If those names sound familiar, yes, these are the creators of the 90s cult classic SWAT Cats. Oh, and Bag of Babies. These two had come up with this idea to turn the Looney Tunes into superheroes in the far-flung future. They pitched it to Schwartz and the rest of the heads at Warner Brothers, and they were very enthusiastic about it. This was going to be the show that would take the franchise in a brand new direction. Not only did the executives love it, the child focus groups really loved it. Now I know what you're thinking, but we'll get to him a little bit later. But as good as it sounds, there's always a catch. The Tremblays were very insistent that the show be as dark as the network would allow, pushing for a 14 to 18-year-old target demographic. Keep in mind that the target demographic for Kids WB itself was 7 to 11 years old. Any age higher, and you'd be looking at the target audience for Toonami and or Adult Swim. And to the surprise of absolutely no one, Warner Brothers didn't like that. The Tremblays wanted Loonatics to be, for lack of a better term, Season 3 of SWAT Cats in everything but name. The crew had to remind the two that they were merely the art directors for the show and not the actual showrunners. To quote Ron Myrick, "They wanted their art, not their vision." And while that may have been true, Warner would find themselves questioning even that when the Tremblays' concept art for the Loonatics got out.
Oh my goodness!
Look, as much of a fan I am of this show, even I have to admit this is not the best look. And I was definitely not the only one. Yes, the kids in that focus group absolutely loved the idea, and the show probably wouldn't be in this situation if they didn't, but they were just a focus group. Just because the focus group loved it, didn't mean the public would.
The news hit the blogosphere splat like a pie in the face. Animation chat rooms went berserk. Someone tell me this is all a big joke. Continue to draw me like this, Buster, and we'll both be out of work.
Enter Thomas Adams, a then 12-year-old boy from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Thomas saw the concept art and did not like it. With the help of some friends, he started up a website called Save Our Looney Tunes that acted as a petition to, at the very least, change these characters to something less evil-looking. And unlike most petitions, this one actually ended up working. At its peak, the site saw over 228,000 views, and the petition got over 215,000 signatures. Now, before you say anything, Adams did not hate the show. He only made the petition out of a love for the franchise and didn't want Warner Brothers to alienate audiences with these designs. He went on record saying he did like the show, even if it wasn't the kind of show he wanted. In local newspapers, he said, "It's okay. It's like normal cartoons today, pretty much." He also said this on his website. "I respect Warner Brothers' right to air Loonatics this fall. I'm glad they listened to what we had to say. I wish them well with their show and hope they bring back the classics." But even though the main kid who made the petition held no true ill will towards Warner Brothers and actively wished the show well, that didn't stop the media from getting their hands on the story and twisting it to make it look a lot worse than it was. Before you knew it, everyone was dogpiling on Warner Brothers for even daring to take the Looney Tunes franchise in a different direction. You had big-name people like Jimmy Kimmel, Anderson Cooper, Harry Shearer, and Regis Philbin slamming the show. Before it even aired, mind you. Kimmel said, "Tweety Bird looks like a hooker from space." Which, I don't know where he pulled that joke since Tweety isn't even in the show. At least, not yet. Cooper said, "Ace Bunny is a wabbit you wouldn't want to cross, even in a dark alley. I'm prepared to beg our corporate sibling Warner Brothers not to do this terrible thing." Harry Shearer told MSNBC, "These characters don't look like they belong on a children's cartoon. They look like they belong on stage with Kiss."
No one tell him that Gene Simmons made My Dad is a Rock Star.
But probably the worst offender was Regis, who opted to say he was swearing off Looney Tunes entirely. Like, Regis, dude, you're acting like a purist who goes scorched earth on a show when they make one little change to a show you like. But Warner Brothers, God bless them, they ultimately looked at this and took the controversy with stride, pulling the whole no such thing as bad publicity route in interviews and press releases. But even though Warner was still confident the show would go well, that didn't mean smooth sailing behind the scenes. One of the many problems was a lack of proper development across the board. We were constantly changing the look of the characters and their names. We were trying to find the balance between comedy and action for characters that were most successful in 6-minute shorts. With the Tremblay's initial designs for the Loonatics out the window, Warner Brothers needed someone to give them a more suitable look. Enter relative newcomer Walter Gatiss. Gatiss is mostly known nowadays for his work on multiple shows for Marvel and Hasbro, including Spectacular Spider-Man, G.I. Joe Renegades, The Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and even a few original projects like Ben 10, Duncanville, and Stillwater. For this first project, Gatiss's redesigns for Loonatics were lightened up significantly. The SWAT Cats-esque teeth were out, actual pupils were added to their eyes, and their body types were given a bit more girth. Luckily for Gatiss, Schwartz liked the designs enough that Gatiss was given the duty of being the lead character designer for the rest of the series. With a much more appealing look for the Loonatics themselves, it's time we get into the meat of this show. And to do that, we must start at the very beginning. Our deep dive begins here. So let's talk about Loonatics Unleashed, Episode 1, Loonatics on Ice.